How goes it, everyone? I am the world famous Fat Kid, and we are doing the recap for Week 8 in the NFL season. So we're looking to bounce back after that abysmal 4-9 week. And you know what? I'm happy to say we did. I haven't done better than this, but it's 11-5. I went 11-5. I'm happy about it. Could have been better because, well, again, my preseason picks absolutely crushed it. And I'm not happy about that, honestly. Anyway, we're going to go over the games that made me, ta-da! Oh, that's good to see after that ugly week last week. So, let's get into it, starting with Thursday Night Football. It was the Bucs and the Bills. Bills won. I picked them. Bills have been a little strange this year. Josh Allen has been playing well, but a lot of interceptions, a lot of turnovers. He threw another one this week. It was tipped at the line, so it kind of got a little extra wee to it. I think he'll get better as the year goes on. It's shown that he has been playing better week to week, still making a couple bad decisions, but it is what it is. All QBs will make bad decisions from time to time. It was a lot closer of a game than I thought it was going to be. I thought Buffalo was going to jump out to like a 30-point lead and win 30-10, which I got to give it to the Bucs. They hung around, they just couldn't do it because, I mean, they had a chance. They got to within 6. They drove to midfield and hucked a Hail Mary, and, well, speaking about that, they could have called pass interference. It looked a little grabby, a little pushy, but obviously they didn't, and ball fell incomplete, which I believe it landed right next to a receiver for the Bucs, who just went to adjust and slipped. There was a lot of that actually going on this weekend, but I don't know if it's the turf or weather conditions or what had the more impact in the games, but it is what it is. We start off with another Thursday night win. I've only lost one. Thanks, Bears. Allen, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, that interception. I mean, he also had a rushing touchdown. He looked good. He makes plays. And we're going to cover also all the, maybe not all the trades, but the big trades, like Buffalo getting Rasul Douglas. Their secondary is injured. They're trying to get some players in, and I believe this is going to be huge for them. I don't know what Green Bay's doing. That's not for me to say. That's for them to figure out now. So we'll move on to the first the first Sunday game, which also is a first for Carolina. So it's Houston and Carolina wins. First time. I did not expect that at all. So Carolina missed an early extra point, and I thought that was going to come back and bite him in the butt. Because I actually at that point figured Houston was going to be up 4 points, like 17-13, and that extra point was going to keep them out of field goal, to tie. But it ended up not being a hindrance because Carolina's defense shut down Houston. I mean, Stroud's been playing well. I've been talking about him like I did not expect this. And he only came out with 140 yards. The running game, 46 yards was their leading rusher. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Houston. I thought they were much better than this, but I didn't expect Carolina to go 0-17. So they got it out of the way. Congratulations. I mean, Young looked pretty good. 235 and a touchdown. No rushing game, so to speak. Only 44 total yards. But hey, It doesn't matter how you get the win, you got the win. And congratulations, Carolina, but you hit me with a loss for this week. I'm not happy about it. Anyway, moving on. I don't really have a lot to say about the Rams and the Cowboys because it was all Cowboys all day. Like, they pick six, put them up early, put them up big early, and the Cowboys just controlled it. They were up 33-9 at half. 33-9 at half. That's ridiculous. Granted, the Rams came back and attempted to make it a game, but Dallas was just too much. I mean, Prescott, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, over half of the passing yards. He had 158 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, Cowboys continue to beat up on bad teams, except for the Cardinals. But I picked the Cowboys. We're back in the win column. And we're going to move to the NFC North. Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers. It was a win-lose for Minnesota because they won 24-10. Cam Akers with an early touchdown, but I mean, after that, they didn't really do much with the run game. But Cousins looked pretty good. 274 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then he out for the year with an Achilles injury. That sucks because Cousins was playing pretty well. Granted, their record did not reflect that. They're now 500. They are now 4-4. So they've got a heartbeat. They're trying, but with Cousins out, that really hurts. They traded for Josh Dobbs near the trade deadline. I don't know if he's going to be the guy. He's played all right with Arizona, but faded every second half. I don't know if that's the team he was with or if it's just Dobbs' ability. I guess we'll find out. But it'll be interesting to see. I guess claiming that the Minnesota Vikings season was over after week 3 or 4 was a little premature of me. I apologize any Vikings fans that watch this. Moving on. We're going to go to the Saints and the Colts. I picked the Colts, and of course, Carr has a really good game. Taysom Hill decides to show up. And Kamara, another solid game. He wasn't over 100 yards rushing or receiving, but all-purpose yards, 137? Yeah, 137, 2 touchdowns. I mean, Alvin Kamara has been huge for them coming back. Speaking of huge, Shaheed, 3 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, I'll take that every day of the week. I mean, let's see here. Okay, here's the bright spot for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor outcarried Zach Moss. He had 95 yards. Taylor's getting back into the groove. Is it going to be that 2 years, 3 years ago where he was one of the top rushers in the league? Probably not. But is he going to be a more physical presence? I'm assuming so. He's playing better. He's making big runs. I think this is good for the Colts. Minshew's getting, he hasn't been playing bad. Other than the Jaguars game, he hasn't been playing bad. He just keeps doing what he's doing. Everything will be fine. Colts, I picked them to win. They ended up losing 38-27. I mean, neither defense really was that good. It's just the Colts have to get Taylor going, and it looks like it's happening. They're still technically in it for the South. I guess we'll find out, even though the Jags, we'll get to them, but the Jags don't look like they're going to be giving that up anytime soon. So we move on to an AFC East matchup, the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami struggled early. But they got it going well enough against a weak offensive team in the Patriots, and at half they were up 17-7. They then outscored them in the second half 14-10 for a 31-17 win. I mean, New England tried to stay in it, but every time they caught up a little bit, Miami answered back and just kept them at arm's length. So I mean, first time I'm going to mention his name, Juju Smith-Schuster. 1 catch for 3 yards. It was a touchdown. Yeah, good idea leaving Kansas City and going to New England because you're dumb. Anyway, Tua, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 turnovers, a pick and a fumble. Not the greatest, but I mean, when you have receivers like Jalen Waddle, 121 yards, Tyreek Hill, 112 yards, you can give up a couple turnovers, I guess, and still be good. We'll find out next week because, well, we'll get to that tomorrow. Let's see here. The Battle of Jersey. The Jets and the Giants. I'm going to try to skip through this because this was an ugly game. 7-3 at half. Jets were up. Giants took the lead late. Jets tied it with no time left. They went to overtime. 3 and out for the Giants. Jets kick a 33-yarder to win the game. My biggest question here is, how were the Giants even in this game when they had a whopping -9 passing yards? I know Tyrod Taylor went out early, well, midway through the second quarter, but their backup, DeVito. I can't. I don't understand how this game was that close. The Jets' defense was good. Does that mean that the Jets' offense is just absolutely garbage? Well, now looking at my notes, no running back over 20 rushing yards, 58 total yards. Yeah, no, they're not very good. Whatever. I picked the Jets. They squeaked it out. We'll take it, even though that was an ugly game. All right, we just mentioned the Jaguars, who took on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jaguars won 20-10. They were moving the ball, and then early turnover. Pittsburgh took 5 drives to get a field or a first down. That just means the Steelers' offense is terrible. We already knew this, but they've shown glimpses of we're pretty good, and then they do stuff like this. Whatever. Jacksonville with 2 early red zone turnovers. You can't do that. I mean, you can't. Jacksonville was slow. They were slow throughout the game, but the defense held a poor offense to only 10 points. You like that. ETN, another big game. I mean, 149 total yards, a receiving touchdown. Like, he's been their team. Because if he's not running the ball, they're not getting the passes out to the wide receivers or Evan Ingram. If they can stop ETN, they're going to stop the Jaguars. They just can't fully stop ETN. He gets involved in one way or another. So, Jacksonville's defense is playing well. The offense is slowly starting to move along again, but I don't see it being held down for too much longer. Yeah. I think the Jags are going to win the AFC South easily because Colts are in it. But they got to get some things figured out. So, we'll move on to the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans. I have opinions on this one. Will Levis, first career touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, should not have counted. Hopkins got away with offensive pass interference. You can argue with me if you want. It clearly looked like he pushed the defender. He stiff-armed him while the ball was in the air, caught it, nobody was within 5 yards, and he just walked into the end zone. He should not have been able to do that. So be it. I mean, outside of that, Hopkins had a huge day. Outside of that touchdown, he still had 2 others that were legit, 100% legit. I mean, Levis looked good. 238 yards, 4 touchdowns. Didn't make a mistake. Played well. Ridder, on the other hand, he got hit late second quarter. Possible concussion. They brought him out after he had a turnover, so that's like 9 in 3 games. Maybe even, that sounds about right. So Tyler Heineke came in, or Taylor or Tyler, it doesn't matter. Heineke came in, and he played all right. He didn't light the world on fire. He didn't complete the comeback, but he played all right. Are they going to stay with Ridder, or are they going to go Heineke? I don't know. Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. We'll move on to an actual really good game again. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Washington jumped out to an early lead. Sam Howell was just crushing it. Let's see here. 397 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but dang, Howell he plays really well against Philly for some odd reason, but they just can't get it done because A.J. Brown is a bad man. That's all I can say. 130 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 catches. He cannot be stopped. This is 6 games in a row of 125 yards plus receiving? It's insane. Oh, it was good to see the brotherly shove fail. Because, it's so unstoppable. They have the right personnel. They can just do it whenever they want. I'm glad to see that it failed. And then later in the game, they line up for it. Hurts starts to move towards the line and pitches it back to Swift for a touchdown. I thought that was brilliant. That was a great move. I believe that was the one that kept him up 14. Washington cut it down to 7, but just could not get the onside kick. So Philly ended up winning. And speaking of, I don't know what people are doing. Commanders traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. You're still in position for a playoff spot. You can get to the wild card. You're only 2 games out, and you have a few favorable matchups. Why would you get rid of 2 of your better defensive players? I don't know. I can't speak for that because I'm not in that office, but it confuses me. Because Montez Sweat has been one of their bright spots. Chase Young, I know he was out, last year with injuries, but when he does play, he makes plays. He may not get the huge sack numbers, but pressures, whatever. Okay. We'll move on to the Sunday afternoon games. Cleveland Browns, Seattle Seahawks. This was a weird game because Seattle early, 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. They were looking to run away with it. But then the Cleveland defense kind of clamped down. The offense moved the ball a little bit, cut it down to a 14-7. Seattle only gets a field goal before the end of the half. Cleveland got another touchdown. It's 17-14. And then it's all Cleveland second half. Granted, all Cleveland means only 2 field goals. But Seattle could not do anything until late fourth quarter. Smith-Njigba catches one back of the end zone, takes the lead, and Cleveland just fails to move the ball, game over. Seattle wins. It was really a close game, and it did not start looking like that. I mean, P.J. Walker, 248 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Geno Smith, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, pretty even game. It came down to just who could stop the run, honestly. But Seattle picked up Leonard Williams from the Giants, so that'll help their defense a little bit more. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily needed it, but I guess we'll go with it, right? So, Baltimore, Arizona. I expected a blowout. And of course, Arizona does it again. They play well, they keep the game close, they start to fade, and then they try near the end and come up short. Like, they took the lead early. Arizona opening drive touchdown. And then Baltimore answered back. And Mr. Clutch as fuck Tucker missed a field goal. Best kicking percent. I'm just messing with some of the Ravens fans I know, because they love Justin Tucker. Anyway, Baltimore controlled the ball with Gus Edwards, 3 touchdowns. Like, he sealed it in the second half with 2 touchdowns. I mean, Arizona tried to make it a game. They made it a 7-point game, but couldn't get the ball back. Of course, they end up losing. Like I said, they traded Dobbs to Minnesota. They got, I don't even know what they got for him. It wasn't much. It was like a 3rd-round pick. No, they got Arizona got a 6th-round pick. I guess. I don't get it. But whatever. Now, one of the more surprising games of the week. Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos. You see the smile. You see the smile. It's what I've been talking about these first 7 weeks. The Chiefs have been struggling. This was the culmination of all of their offensive problems. Because the Broncos are not good, but they could not get on the same page. And let's see here. Not 1, not 2, not 3 or 4, but 5 turnovers by the Chiefs. 1 was on special teams. McCole Hardman, oh, it's so great to have him back. But Mahomes with 3 turnovers of his own, 2 picks and a fumble. Is he playing hurt? Is he trying to do too much? I don't know. But they obviously have not been in sync. And this game showed it. The Broncos are not a good team. And they walked away with this 24-9. Like, I don't know. We'll see how KC responds. They get Miami next week. We'll talk about those in my picks tomorrow. But, yeah, I picked KC and they got blown up. Makes me happy. Anyway, we'll move on to Cincinnati and San Francisco, which I picked the Giants. That's baseball, fool. I picked the 49ers. I don't know what's going on. Cincinnati looked really good. They've looked the best that they have all season. I mean, their defense forced mistakes. They forced 3 and outs. And the Cincinnati offense just moved the ball. They did what they wanted. For the most part. I mean, I don't know. Purdy is having a really bad stretch right now. And he needs to get that figured out, because they don't have anybody else in San Francisco to take over for him. I don't know. San Francisco has lost 3 straight. They have to figure it out. And I don't know if they will next week. I mean, next week's is their bye week. So they have time. They have time to figure it out. But they added Chase Young from Washington. So that should help. Yeah, I picked that one wrong. And that was the last one I got wrong, because now we move into Sunday Night Football. Bears and the Chargers. I mean, Herbert started out the game 11 for 11, 120 yards. Chargers were just dinking and dunking and just tearing up the Bears, who traded for Montez Sweat, so maybe that will help, but I don't think so, because they still have Bagent at quarterback, or Baguette. That's not going to help the offense. So, I mean, Chargers walked away with this. They ran away with it. 30-13, never in question. There we go. Now, we go to the bittersweet symphony that's life. Monday Night Football, Vegas Raiders, Detroit Lions. Raiders still suck. Okay? They forced a fumble. They recovered it, and immediately, Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't want it. Ridiculous. I mean, the only benefit is Max Crosby is still wreaking havoc. That's it. That's it. I mean, the defense is not very good. Oh yeah, pick 6 by Marcus Peters in the second half. I don't care. I hate Marcus Peters. He's overrated. He can't tackle. He's boom or bust. He'll either make a big play or he gets big plays made on him. He has been that way since he was in Kansas City. Wherever he goes, I don't like Marcus Peters. Period. I don't care if he's on the Raiders. He sucks. Anyway, let's talk about the Lions. Sam Laporta, another big game. I mean, Iowa grown. I know he wasn't raised in Iowa, but he went to the University of Iowa. We make tight ends. That's all I can say. Gibbs, he had a big game. 26 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Like, granted, it's against the Raiders, but Dan Campbell was talking about Gibbs was going to have a breakout game. Pretty sure that's it. Why not do it against a bad team? Right? Right. So, we're going to move on to the sweet part of this. Raiders lost. They're looking terrible, but Mark Davis finally got rid of McDipshit and Ziggles. Thank you. Way too long. You let him destroy this team for too long, but at least you decided to move on from him and Ziggles. Now, I'm okay with taking losses for the rest of the year as we figure things out from here, because Antonio Pierce, some of you may know him, some of you may not. Linebacker for the Giants, a handful of years ago. I like it. He is now the new interim head coach. We'll see what he has to do. He's already moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going to play Aiden O'Connell, I don't know for the rest of the year, but at least next week against the Giants. He gets the start. I'm excited to see what Pierce will do, because it can't be any worse, right? I hope. Anyway, again, I finished 11-5 this week. I'm not upset about it. That's pretty good. That puts me in a good headspace going into next week. And And with no McDaniels and no Ziggles, I feel optimistic. Not that we're going to make the playoffs this year, but things will get better. So, with that being said, until the next video, have a good one. I hope to see you next time. Take care.